What's good, y'all? Today I'm back with another video, and today I'll be discussing the full res tier list, updated and, well, up to date. And before we get into that, I'd just like to ask that you go down below and subscribe, because only like 2% of you guys are subscribed right now. It's free, it'll help me out a lot, and I'm working on 2 other videos right now that are way higher quality than this. This is pretty much just filler, but let's just get into it. And we're gonna start off with explaining the basis. I'm just gonna go off of what I've experienced so far, and I do fight quite a bit of players, so I feel like my opinion should have some weight, if not like the best fucking out there, but I would say that my opinion is pretty decent. So I'm gonna start off with Pantera. Now Pantera I don't really see a lot of, because there is a lot of better alternatives. But at the same time, in my opinion, Pantera is very quick, and if you're using Hakuda, it is extremely good. If you're using Hakuda, I'd say it's like A tier, high A tier, maybe low S, because Pantera with Hakuda is pretty fire. But without it, I'd say it's still pretty quick, it's still pretty good, though map-wide, the slash is pretty fire, and the instant teleport can lead into a bunch of combos with Kendo as well. And in my opinion, it's high B or mid A, so I'll just start off with being A tier. As I said, there's not much. It's a pretty simple resurrection. It doesn't have like too many crazy combos, but at the same time, it's pretty good. And after that, I'd like to move on to Spirit, which is a Yu Yu Hakusho reference. And the fuck is that? I genuinely have never seen anyone use Spirit, and it could belong anywhere on this list. I've seen only the resurrection, like the full resurrection, which I shouldn't base it off of that. So I'll just like to say, no one uses Spirit. You don't really have to worry about it, and I wouldn't suggest you use it, just because no one uses this shit. And now I'm going to be talking about Vampire. And with the recent nerfs, I'd say that Vampire is still good, but at the same time, it's very conditional. Everything can be blocked in its kit, but it does have pretty crazy hitboxes, especially on Phage. Payday, however, is an easy parry. But Phage and Echo are both really good, and depending on your build, if you have a lot of guard breaks, Echo can be very devastating because they're trying to get away from you, and if you guard break them, that's a guaranteed bite. So in my opinion, Vampire is high A, low S at the moment. I'll put it in S as we go along. It will just decrease. And let's move on to Starrk. Starrk is definitely high S, low ungodly, or pretty much mid ungodly, because Starrk's Corazon, even though it was nerfed, still has startup hyper armor, so it can interrupt basically any move. If it's Hakuda, it can interrupt it. It can interrupt any Hakuda combos. If it's Spectre Step, it can completely counter it. And any move that pretty much locks onto you and teleports them to you, Corazon can absolutely counter, and they can't do anything about it other than like maybe Spine Range you, in which in most cases that's not really going to work out too well. And the Starrk Wolf also applies crazy posture. If you're going a rank hard keto, you can do Sero Fireflies into Hollow Bite into Starrk Wolf, and that's pretty much a guaranteed guard break, and they just have to run from you, and there's nothing they can do about it. So I'll just say Starrk is extremely good. I've been using it a lot, and it's the 2 little Sero moves is underrated. If you're using Partial Essence, it always catches people off guard, and the damage is pretty fucking crazy. It can apply even more pressure if you're trying to just guard break them with Hollow Bite and such. So I'd say Starrk is definitely one of the best, if not the best, depending on your playstyle, and that's why it's in low or mid S at the moment. However, I'll be moving into the high S tiers at the moment, and that is, if it actually goes there, that is Tiger, or otherwise known as Slash. Slash is absolutely fucking devastating, and the supposed nerfs it got, which was supposed to be endlang on parries and maybe block, hasn't been applied for whatever reason. Byakko can still basically lead into anything, even after you parry them. There's no end lag, there's no punishment. So Byakko is just like a free engage, and then you can't do anything about it. The hitbox is still wanky as shit, so it hits you from 5 miles away, and it's just an extremely good resurrection. High S, maybe even slightly into ungodly, but not really. I wouldn't argue that it's an ungodly. It's pretty easy to counter, as in like get away from. It's not like Starrk where they'll apply infinite pressure on you and you literally can't get away from them. If you block Byakko, most of the time you will be able to dash out. Maybe not fully, but you will avoid like 50% of the combo still, and well, you'll be pretty much fine. Acid is the first B, low A tier. Acid is pretty good, but the only guard break move it has is charged up like hell. It leaves you out open to attacks, even though you are hyper armored and have uninterruptibility. You're pretty much just a sitting target for like blade arrows or blade or ball barrel just from long range, and I wouldn't really recommend using that. The ragdoll move is entirely blockable, and the area of effect is also pretty good if you're Hakuda. At the same time, acid is not that good, especially after nerfs where it got its DOT damage cut in half. It's pretty mid at the moment, but they're very much still usable. I would say around the same with Starrk. Starrk is probably low A, high B. Starrk by itself in its partial res is not that great. The huge pull move is good to avoid damage and get your moves back, but at the same time your opponent is also regenerating and getting their moves back most of the time. So it's just a trade-off if you want to reset a fight, but at the same time it's easily avoidable by flash stepping. You're not faster than a flash step, and if they flash step away, your whole move is broken. The Sharks is just a worse Byakko or Starrk Wolf. So Starrk is pretty much just a downgraded Starrk if you think about it. So yeah, there's not really much to talk about. Maybe a low A, but it's high B in my opinion. It is debatable with where you want to put it. It's definitely usable, and the full res is pretty crazy, but that will not influence this. Bone is most certainly high S. Probably, I wouldn't say it's better than Starrk, but at the same time it can be. These are interchangeable. In Ungodly, it depends on your playstyle and what you've experienced. It can change because players do change this a lot. If you're fighting a good Bone or Starrk, it might change your opinion. But if we're going off just straight moveset, Bone is absolutely fucking ridiculous. It has a damn near instantaneous dash that if you have bad ping, you can't react to. And all of its moves are move stackable. Kind of the same with Starrk, but even worse because it applies even more pressure to you, and unlike Starrk, you can't actually block the chasing move, or not block, my bad. You can't actually parry the bones that chase you because one, they're erratic and they're not like a static spawn, so you can't like really time it. And even if you do parry the first part, the second part will still hit you because parrying it doesn't actually cancel it. And the huge AoE bone move has two separate parries, and the first one doesn't really cancel the second one, so you're forced to parry twice, kind of like Sero Scourge. And that can be very annoying, especially given how big the range is and how much damage it actually does. So this is interchangeable, as I said. It is definitely above. It is one of the best, if not the best, resurrection or partial res in game. I don't know about full res because Bone is not too great in full res, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's in Ungodly. It can be above or below Starrk depending on who plays it. And now we're going to be talking about Devil. Devil is pretty good in most cases. The Inferno ability, I think it's called, doesn't actually take Reiatsu, and it's pretty good damage. It's pretty useful. Not taking Reiatsu in itself is pretty busted in my opinion because that's just free poke and you can pretty much never worry about it. So if you're playing Hakuda though, this can extend air combos, start air combos, pretty much just a very solid. I wouldn't say it's S tier, maybe low S, but definitely high A. I would say it's contesting with Pantera for Hakuda, and it's definitely a lot more. I wouldn't say a lot more. Hakuda and or for Hakuda, both these are pretty much the same. But if you're not on Hakuda, these two are pretty much the same as well. So Pantera and Devil are pretty normal. Now I'll be moving into Phoenix, and unlike Spirit, I've actually seen Phoenix used more than once, and I'm talking about just partial res, because I haven't seen Spirit used at all. I've only seen a full res, which my friend was getting beat by. But Phoenix itself, I'd say is C tier. All of its moves have been nerfed to the fucking ground. Nobody uses it, and for a very good reason. Phoenix is mid as the day it was fucking made. No one plays this shit. I don't really need to explain it. You know it's mid. The devs know it's mid, and they nerf it even more. So yeah, let's move on. Arrogante, I would say is definitely in the S tier at the moment. It has a pretty quick guard break, plus it cripples the opponent. It's pretty much instacast. I believe it also has hyper armor. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Arrogante is most certainly in the S tier. If it's Hakuda, it can do very crazy combos, and pretty much on everything else, it can also like make pretty good combos. Plus, it guard breaks and it also cripples them. And yeah. I don't really need to say why that's OP on Arrogante. A cripple is basically a guaranteed ball drive in your forehead unless you parry it, in which case you probably won't. Ball drive is not that easy to parry. And yeah. But Arrogante, unlike like Starrk and Bone or Vamp, is pretty simple. It's a very like base ability, as in like it doesn't have any flashy moves or anything, but it's definitely very solid, it's very strong, and it's a very solid pick if you want to just turn your brain off and not have to think about the complications of your abilities and what you need to do with them. Now, Volcanica. Here's what I say about Volcanica. Volcanica in itself has very high potential, but the people who use Volcanica don't know what the fuck they're doing. Because Volcanica's eruption move, where it leaves those 3 pillars on the ground, if you catch the enemy in the middle of it, there is genuinely nothing they can do other than maybe parry, but I haven't seen anyone actually parry that move. It might be unparryable, or the timing might just be weird. It literally keeps you there for a solid 4 seconds for you to just get beat with no consent or way to get out, from what I've seen at least. Maybe some people can, but Volcanica, the people who use it make it seem like a B tier, but if you've actually fought against a good Volcanica player, you know this shit is actually contesting with the S tiers. It's a legendary for a reason. People don't actually know what the fuck they're doing with it is the only issue. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Volcanica is very strong, but it is also very complicated. So it's pretty much in the middle of S tier, in my opinion. Now, for obviously Light. Light is ungodly as fuck right now because the C extends into like a lot of moves like Cornea. It's true into Cornea, and I don't need to tell you why that's devastating. You can Shori right after it as well on Hakata, catch people off guard. The X move is quick, has ridiculous hitboxes, and TPs you to them afterwards. That's obviously good as shit. It does very good damage. And the lock-on move, where it barrages them, is also extremely good. If the opponent doesn't parry at the end of it, you can pretty much extend it into any combo you want. And there's nothing they can do about it since they're stunned, unless you use it from 5 miles away, which I'm just going to say you're weird. Light in itself is pretty wild. I would say it's arguably in the middle. I'd say Starrk can still easily whip a Light user if they're actually smart with it, but a Light user takes a lot more like strategy to actually beat a Starrk user. Starrk will always remain on top at the moment, no matter what they do to it, unless they take away Corazone's hyper armor at the start. There's not really much they can do about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell me if you disagree in the comments. I'm always open for discussion. Join my Discord as well for giveaways. And once I get to 2K, I'll be giving away a bunch of mythical items for you guys. And yeah, if you want to just talk to me, discuss my next videos, or suggest video ideas to me, you can always join my Discord in the description. And yeah, thank you all. Subscribe, and I'll be here probably today again. So see ya.